Governments are no longer denying it. The military are no longer denying it. And even mainstream media no longer denies it. They're here and have been here for a very long time. The Mutual UFO Network has been on the front lines uncovering the truth since 1969. And now we're sharing the truth with you. Welcome to MUFON's What's Up with hosts Katie Grabowski, Christopher DiPerno, and Katie Cook, exclusively on the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. Wondering what's up? So are we.
What's up, everybody? It is Tuesday night, and I am coming to you live from beautiful Guffey, Colorado. I hope I don't have too much of a lag. I am surrounded 360 degrees by beautiful mountains, so the internet connection may be a little choppy or slow, but if I fall off or drop away, my co-host will have my back, so hang in there with me. You are listening to MUFON What's Up Radio, the show that says discovery starts with curiosity, and curiosity starts with MUFON, brought to you by KGRADB.com. As always, we are endorsed by MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, always asking that all-important question, are we alone in the universe? This week's 2022 symposium featured speaker is Peter Robbins. Peter will be speaking how America's greatest newspaper helped perpetuate America's greatest deception. Peter is also the host right here on KGRA of his own show, Meanwhile Here on Earth, that airs Mondays from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern, and I hope you guys checked out it as well. We have an amazing guest for you tonight. We have Alan Steinfeld, and I got to hang out with him in San Francisco, and we had a fabulous time, and he is an amazing person, so I can't wait till we get to speak with Alan. First, I would like to introduce my wonderful co-host, Katie Cook. You see her on country music television, and she is into all things UFO and paranormal. Welcome, Katie.
Thank you. Glad to be here another week. We're going to have a fantastic show.
Yes, we are. And of course, there's funny, always keeps us laughing, Chris DiPerno, State Director of New York. Welcome, Chris.
Hello. I'm a little worried about Jerry. He started drinking.
Oh, no.
He's got a bottle of vodka. He says he won't do the show without. He says he's very upset. He's got a bottle of vodka. He said the last guy that did all the chugging of the vodka, he wanted to try it, and now he's become a freaking alcoholic. I don't know. But anyways, best wishes for Jerry. Keep him in your prayers.
Oh, God. Poor Jerry.
He's an alcoholic alien. He's got to go to AA. Alcoholic alien. Get it? The alcoholic alien? AA.
Alcoholic alien. Oh, no. What are you drinking there, Chris? Just water.
I want to be drinking vodka, too. To do this show, I got to drink something beforehand.
Oh, my God. Yeah, right.
Hey, Katie, what do you have to kick us off today? Oh, my God.
Well, not a vodka endorsement, but I will work on that. Let's start with our meme of the week, as I always like to do. I thought this was a pretty cute one. For those of you just listening, so it looks like the aliens have landed, but instead of beaming up a human, they've beamed up the television. It says, "We have their leader." It's kind of sad, but true, isn't it? And the guy's going, "No,
They're
take my TV."
Brainwashing machine.
Yes, but we're all sitting here in front
All
of
the
our screens right
disinformation.
now, right? Can't say anything. But okay, let's talk about our
Right.
pop of the week. This is a good one. Amanda, I'm going to have you put the picture up, if you don't mind. How cute is this guy? Bigfoot head with little golden eyes. And yeah, this is dark chocolate. It is gluten-free, made by our friend.
My wife.
What?
Nothing.
What
I hope
did
she's
you?
not in earshot range.
Christopher DiPerno. Moving right along. Made by our friend Wendy Robinson right here in the US of A. You can order these at paranormalpops.com. And yes, so I had to have Amanda put the picture up because this is what he looks like right now because I can't stop. He tastes so good. I just can't stop. It smells so good. The chocolate flavored pops are the absolute best. They are so good. And speaking of Wendy, who makes the pop, she also sent me this crazy, awesome idea I have to share with you guys. It is a UFO chicken coop. I mean, I don't even have chickens in my yard, but I just want this guy so bad. Your chickens, they can be the coolest on the block. She found this at odditymall.com. And the builder even gives instructions on how you can do this yourself. I guess the main structure of the UFO is made up of two 10-foot satellite dishes, and then they cut the small holes out to create the little bubble windows for the chickens. And I have a really quick video of this. Amanda? Okay, sorry. Apparently, I left a whole lot of dark at the end of that video. I do that sometimes. But how freaking cute is that chicken coop? I love that so much.
Do they have them for pigs too? I mean,
Maybe
can you imagine the oinkers going up there and like putting all these pinks? I mean, what? I'm just curious. That's all.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll find out. I'll see if I can find that out. But hey, I have been doing some research. You know, we've had this big debate: do aliens use toilet paper? And I did some research. Wendy helped me on this actually too. So it turns out they have their own toilet paper.
Oh my God!
Who knew? They have their own special kind. Wendy helping me with the research. And, you know, she even found a blog post where I guess someone has a radio show and somebody in the comments said, the aliens use toilet paper. And apparently the radio show host got really angry and blocked them from the chat saying, you know, that we have to take it more seriously. So I think our viewers who watch every week know that we take ufology very, very seriously. I think that comes across in the interviews, but we do like to have a little fun up front. So, you know.
We do. And I take everything having the supernatural seriously. Yeah,
we do, except you do have an alien that's drinking vodka behind you. But you got to have a little fun. In this serious world right now, we got to have a little fun. So, Chris, what's coming up in news?
Well, before we get to the news, I want to know, a few weeks back, you did some spoon bending.
Yes.
Yes, you did. And I wanted to try it. I wanted to find out all about this spoon bending. So Jerry and I, being the team that we are, decided we were going to do a little spoon bending ourselves. And, you know, we were kind of successful with it and stuff. Amanda, would you roll that video of us bending spoons?
Hello, everybody. This is Chris DePerno with the MUFON What's Up show. So, you know what? A few weeks ago, my co-host, Katie Cook, did a spoon bending, and she showed how she bent spoons. Well, you know what? My homeboy Jerry and myself, we wanted to try to bend spoons too. So let's try and let's see how our spoon bending went. All right, first, I guess you got to stare at it. Bend the spoon. Bend. You want to rub it a little bit? Bend. Maybe if I push it a little bit. Bend. You stupid thing. Bend. Jerry, bend the spoon. Bend the spoon. Come on, you bastard. Bend the spoon. The little bastard won't do it done. Come on. Bend the spoon. Bend the spoon. Bend the spoon. All right, wait a minute. We got to try something else here. You know what? I think you got to get the temperature up on this, so hold on here. All right. We're going to try to bend the spoon. Bend. Maybe we heat it up a little bit. Yeah, heat it up. Yeah, bend that spoon. Bend. Oh, Jesus. Ah! That didn't work. Well, better not try that. Okay. We gotta bend this spoon. All right. Bend, yo. Bend. Come on, bend. Jesus Christ. This stuff is really tough. I wonder what the hell this spoon is made of. Bend. God almighty. Oh my God! Oh my God, I did it! I did it! I bent the spoon! Lori! I bent the spoon! What?
I hope that's not my mother's good silverware.
Oh, don't come in.
Man, I was so hopeful, Chris, that you were meditating and doing the thing and finding your spirituality.
I don't meditate.
That's hilarious.
I don't meditate. I don't do any of that. If it don't bend in the first 2 seconds, it's going right in the vice grip.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. hey, but it's bent in the end.
Oh my
so,
God, that is so funny.
It is.
You crazy man.
All right. You ready for the news?
Yes.
All right. This is what got Jerry on the drinking thing. Tennessee man, not Tallahassee, for God's sake. Tennessee man arrested for firing shotgun at telepathic aliens. A Tennessee man is in trouble with the law following a bizarre incident where he allegedly fired a shotgun at a neighbor's house to stop what he contends are telepathic aliens who have been tormenting him. The truly strange case reportedly occurred on Sunday evening in the community of Rogersville when cops received a call about a man shooting a gun in a residential neighborhood. When Deputy Dustin Winter with the county sheriff's office arrived on the scene, he encountered a man named Jamie Lee McGuire who shared quite the fantastic story. Oh, man, to get that guy off the screen, for God's sakes. God. According to an arrest report later penned by the deputy, the man explained that aliens have been relentlessly attacking him via telepathic communication. The unwanted intrusion in his life apparently reached a crescendo, or however way you want to say it. It just means god-awful. On Sunday evening, the deputy recalled when McGuire saw the aliens in a storage building on the other side of the neighbor's property. Finally, having eyes on the extraterrestrials that had torn his life apart, McGuire subsequently ran and got his shotgun and began shooting at the aliens, presumably in the hopes of putting an end to his mental harassment once and for all. For those wondering if perhaps McGuire was under the influence of some illicit substances at the time of the incident, Winter's reports indicate the man allegedly admitted smoking meth on Saturday evening. Folks, meth will not get rid of aliens, so don't do it. And during the conversation between the would-be alien hunter and the deputy, the suspect spontaneously told me that he smokes meth because it makes him feel better and that it helps block the telepathic communications from the alien and makes his brain basically Swiss cheese. While it is uncertain whether McGuire's misguided attempt to take down the telepathically torturous ETs led him to stop bothering him, it did lead to his arrest for reckless endangerment. So, you know what? How would the police actually handle a shooting of aliens and UFOs? Maybe something like this. Amanda?
Department. Frisbee. Chandler, Ross, Joey, Thor McGregor, get in the house. Get in the house!
How are we doing today?
How you doing?
We got a call down there at the department. Some aircraft taking off from Reno Airport's been receiving some fire, some bullet rounds.
What airline was it?
Doesn't really matter, Frisbee, honestly.
I don't shoot at airline. Alien aircraft.
You only shoot at alien aircraft.
What I think is alien aircraft, ET stuff.
Uh-huh, and how would you distinguish that from regular aircraft?
It's got aliens in it.
What if you start some with alien aircraft? What if they were just, doing a little drive-by and you start taking shots at them and suddenly, holy we just took a first shot at alien spacecraft.
It's a good question. What's your name?
Travis Jr.
Travis, that's a good question.
Thank you. If we were to look, say, for example, in that bunker that covered with tarp right before we came over.
I haven't been over there in so long. I haven't been over there in so long.
You never make it to this corner of the yard.
That's not even...
Oh!
Holy!
Wow! Oh!
Frisbee!
Yeah, I got this at a yard sale.
What? I never find
You got a bargain, too.
So you're just shooting at these cans right there?
That and the oranges.
All right, so just cock her up.
Just hug up to it.
All right, put the hand in the hand. Here we go.
Let it feed and bleed. Let it feed and bleed.
Now, we kind of saw the police kind of view on something like this, but Jerry wanted me to show the aliens type of view on what happens when you shoot at aliens. Amanda, would you roll that other tape for us? And that's Jerry's point of view. Well,
I hope we don't ever really do that.
That would be so depressing. I mean, as silly as all that was and everything, seriously, I do have to wonder if humans wouldn't react that way. And I just hope to God we wouldn't. But I'm sure they can handle us. They've been handling us for a long time. But I don't know. Apart from that, I got nothing.
Katie, what do you think?
They can shut us down. They've shut down our nukes. They will not tolerate that. That's why they don't come and talk to us. We're violent. We're horrible. We can't even like each other, you know?
Well, you got him drinking, for God's sakes.
We need to get our acts together, people.
Yeah,
I know. Get our acts together, people.
All right. Well, let's
but anyway,
get on to the next
I hope we don't act like that.
Okay. We're not doing a good job. I can tell you that. All right. Jerry, let's get on to the next story. Jen, I forgot all about you. Okay. New psychology research links mystical experiences to heightened spiritual intelligence. You girls will like this one. New research published in the Journal of Psychology of Consciousness, Theory, Research, and Practice provides evidence that mystical experiences is a spiritual rather than a wholly pathological phenomenon. The study found that women who reported having mystical experiences tended to have a greater spiritual intelligence. If you ask my wife, she has more intelligence than me all around, not just mystical. But mystical experiences, which are characterized by feelings of unity, peace, and joy, and altercations in one sense of time and space, have been regarded as the correlate of pathological conditions such as schizophrenia, and the new findings indicate there's another side of such experiences. My personal interest in this subject began as early as 2012, when I experienced my first mystical experience and other altered states of consciousness soon after. Author Dega Katrina Bittema of Regigo Stradivarius University of Latava Lavatory, something like that. In a new study, 299 Latvian women, ages 18 to 69, who had not been diagnosed with mental illness during their lifetime, completed psychological assessments of prior mystical experiences, spiritual intelligence, and psychotic symptoms. Okay, I can't figure that one out. But Tinia and her colleagues found that mystical experiences were positively correlated with spiritual intelligence. In other words, women who had experiences in which all things seemed to be unified or had experience that could not be expressed in words were more likely to agree with statements such as, I have often questioned or pondered the nature of reality. I am able to define a purpose or reason for my life. I recognize aspects of myself that are deeper than my physical body. I don't understand a word of that, but I'm sure you guys out there have better luck than I do. Amanda, would you roll that video?
If you're on the spiritual path towards higher states of consciousness, then chances are you have heard of what is called spiritual or mystical experiences. Spiritual or mystical experiences happen and occur for many different reasons. Today we'll talk about how these experiences come about and what you can do if this is something that you'd like to invite more of into your life. First of all, spiritual experiences are to be seen and acknowledged as natural occurrences. It is only because we are so focused on this physical gross reality that we have been trained to see only what is directly and physically in front of us. But this isn't full reality. If we want to be aware of the more subtle dimensions, then we will need to train ourselves to start seeing our reality differently. We will talk about some useful ways of doing this later in this video. But for now, let's focus on what spiritual experiences are. Mysticism is a part of all religions and spiritual philosophies because once you get beyond doctrines and belief systems, you inevitably start entering a world beyond logic, rules, time, and space. Some say that this is where the true spiritual journey begins. Understanding that we are not in fact physical beings, but rather energetic beings, is a start towards seeing reality as it truly is. Understanding that physical beings are not the only thing that exist is another aspect towards ultimately seeing reality for what it truly is. And finally, understanding that space and time in the way that we perceive it doesn't exist outside our physical world is a start towards seeing reality as it truly is. The truth is that we are all living in a sort of dream world, traditionally referred to as Maya. Maya means illusion. We only think that what we see is reality, but in fact, when you reach higher and higher states of consciousness, this seemingly concrete, stiff reality becomes more and more fluid, malleable, and ephemeral. So if you want to experience spiritual or mystical experiences, you will need to change your paradigm of reality from a fixed physical world to a more magical, fluid, timeless dimension. Now, spiritual experiences occur for different reasons. Some people may experience seeing a celestial or high energy being at times of stress, depression, or sadness. When these experiences happen, people always report feeling a renewed sense of peace, love, and joy in their lives, and are grateful for the reminder that they aren't alone and are always supported. Other people have what is called a near-death experience and remember leaving their body, visiting different dimensions, and communicating with loved ones or higher beings. The purpose of these experiences is to know that one is not limited to the physical body and to acknowledge that there is much more than just our physical world.
You know what? I'm not going to comment on this because you girls probably know more about this than I do, because my wife has a sixth sense. She knows exactly if I'm going to do something stupid or crazy, or she knows. So she goes, "Don't do it." I go, "What are you talking about?" She says, "Don't do it. I know what you're going to do. Don't do it." So, Cookie,
I think your wife has just known you long enough.
Really interesting. Oh, sorry.
But you're talking about, the women having this extra sense or whatever. I think plenty of men do too. It's obviously not just a female thing. I think you're either just that kind of person or not. But I do think there's something maybe about being a mother that, we do sort of have to have a little bit of a psychic sense. Maybe it's kind of built into us just to help keep the little ones alive. I don't know. But I do think having any kind of paranormal experience opens up that spiritual side of it was, previously dormant or not really explored. I don't know how you could have, your eyes opened with such an experience and not start to go deeper and question everything and have a whole paradigm shift. So, they definitely go hand in hand. Maybe women have it more, but I don't know. I think we definitely have someone on our show tonight that has been going down this rabbit hole for a long time. So it's definitely not just a female thing.
Okay. Katie, what do you think?
Yep. We have eyes in the back. We have eyes in the back of our heads. All mothers do. We can see everything. No, I'm really interested in this topic lately. I'm really interested in the trauma and the disassociation piece of paranormal experiences or near-death experiences and how we connect into something out there in the ethers. And it seems to open up something, some doorway, some communication with spirit beings and that. And I can't wait to talk to Alan about that as well. So yeah, I think it's an interesting topic. And also I agree with Katie. It's not just females. It's a all people thing, you know.
Very good. Well,
For sure.
That's the news for the week.
Well, that was very good. That was very entertaining. I liked hearing you try to pronounce Latvia.
I don't know. My wife speaks Russian. She's a PhD in Russian history, language, and all that stuff from Cornell. I'm barely gotten through English.
Well, I think you're doing just fine. All right, Katie, case of the week.
Yeah, case of the week this week we're going to do real quick. It's case number 121162. It's a category 1 case, but I like the photos on this one. It's out of Port Orange, Florida. It occurred, this one is just hot off the presses, March 9th, 2022, 4:01 a.m. So this is a new case, which I like. I interviewed the FI that had this case, and we actually had him here on our show not too long ago, David Toon. So Amanda, if you want to roll David Toon's video, and then we'll show the photos.
David Toon here, the Florida chapter. I, as you know, work as the chief investigator here in Florida for our family down here. And this case that we're talking about is a recent one. The gentleman that was taking the photos is actually an engineer. He was doing some preliminary photography of the land that he was surveying. And had a friend of his that was off in the distance, but he was just standing in the middle of the land he wanted to survey and just started taking pictures in a 360-degree circumference. So he took a look at the photos afterwards to see how they turned out, and that's when he noticed this particular object in this one photo and sent it in. So I immediately contacted them via email and said, hey, we're starting the process. Oh, by the way, here's my series of questions, because I always do a preliminary series of questions via email just to get the conversation started. Turns out he never saw it, never heard it. Neither did his buddy on the other side of the field. And there was no other photos with it in there. So I told him I'd give it the old college try and do some analysis on the photo. And using Adobe Photoshop, I obviously went in and started taking a look at the different layers and adjusting different contrast, brightness, colors. And the resolution was just still a little off. So I ran it through an AI enlarger program. And what I got back was interesting. I think I uploaded it into the case itself in a PDF or PowerPoint where people can take a look at it. But it is a unusual object, not because it's kind of fuzzy, kind of round. It's because there's a ring next to it within a close proximity that has me a little confused. I've seen a lot of photos and a lot of videos. And normally if I saw just the object itself, this little round object, I'd say, well, that's probably a bug, and you just you go on with your confidence levels and your probabilities in your mind as you're doing the investigation. But I had to keep coming back to that ring, that little smoked ring next to this round object. And together, since they were both the same color and within, again, a proximity of each other, I assumed the relationship was there. And once I did that, I couldn't let this go as just another bug. And there's nothing in the photography world that I know of that will give you a shadow ring of an object, because the photo wasn't smeared, it was stable. He wasn't moving the camera to give kind of a smeared look to it. And so I had to consider both as a single anomaly. And doing that put me in a different category as an investigator of what I can conclude. I hope that helps.
Interesting.
So
okay,
Amanda, if you would like to show photo one, this is, yeah, the original photo is kind of hard to see because it's far away, but I like it because it gives scale, right? We can see the trees and the power lines and the fence. So we have scale. So if we want to go to the next photo, and here's a little closer shot. So you see the ring up there above it. And then you go to the next photo.
Wow.
That's a close-up. And look at that. Look at how that object matches that hole almost identically. That's really fascinating. And then the final photo is the one that David was talking about that he changed and did layers on. So it's almost like this thing popped through something in the atmosphere. And it reminds me of that old case over O'Hare in Chicago. Remember there was that hole in the sky, that craft went up and it left like a ring. So I find this case interesting. What do you guys think? What do you think, Katie?
Yeah, it looks exactly like it punched through. I mean, could we be seeing it punching in from another dimension or something? I mean, that's crazy. I love this one. Yeah. This is a really cool case.
What do you think, Chris?
Could it be a portal? Could it? I mean, because of the size of it is the same shape, and if it punching through, could it be a dimensional portal? I wouldn't rule that out.
That's pretty
because
wild.
I mean, we didn't get a shot of it actually coming through, but it's pretty close to it. And if it kind of punched through the sky like that, I would think that it would dissipate very rapidly if it just went fast. But if it came through a portal, that portal maybe still be open. So that's what I'm thinking.
Wow. Did they? I can't remember. Did they say?
And he didn't see it with his eyes. He just no sound. He didn't see it. He only saw it in the photo. He saw that anomaly only in the photo, so he didn't actually see it with his eyes. Only in the photo. So who knows? Really I think it was a really cool catch. Yeah, the object cool. Matches that ring that punched through identically. It's really a cool picture. So, yes,
I love that one. And you guys might be noticing, listening, there's a little bit of delay between us all tonight, but we're just going to do our best to keep rolling through that. Really quick before we bring Alan on, as many of you already know that we lost an important figure in the UFO community this week. John Lear died at the age of 79. George Knapp and 8 News Now remembered him. Let's take a quick look at that.
East Nevada aviator John Lear's death Tuesday has sent ripples throughout the worlds of aviation and conspiracy theories. Lear was widely known for his claims about UFOs in Area 51, but also for a lifetime of daring exploits in everything that could fly. The 8 News Now I-Team's George Knapp looks back at a colorful life.
Most people think I'm absolutely nuts. And that's okay with me.
John Lear didn't mind when people attacked his wild stories. In fact, he reveled in it. He came to be known as the godfather of conspiracies, but anyone who was given a tour of his jam-packed den knew there was a lot more to Lear than tall tales.
And that's the secret base there.
Those walls were a museum of his life, pictures with the famous and infamous, of planes he had flown, secret places and projects he'd investigated. Regret wasn't a word he was known to use.
Would you do it the same way?
Exactly the same way.
Determined to carve out his own path, Lear dove into aviation, becoming an accomplished pilot at a young age, eventually setting multiple world records in all manner of planes. His daredevil life came at a cost, serious injuries caused by plane crashes he shouldn't have survived. During the Vietnam era, he flew cargo planes for the CIA and continued to court danger by flying in and out of other hotspots. In the mid-'80s, he started hearing stories about a UFO cover-up and, not surprisingly, jumped in with both feet, making various media appearances to discuss his ideas.
The people are abducted. They're taken up into a saucer.
Good evening. This is John Lear.
In March 1989, he accompanied a small group to the outskirts of Area 51. 3 Wednesday nights in a row, they watched a glowing disc rise above the mountains over Papoose Dry Lake.
Did you see that move it did?
No, I didn't.
It was like I kept doing.
The person who initiated the desert outing was a scientist who claimed he worked at Papoose on flying saucers. That scientist was interviewed live on television in May 1989 from Lear's driveway, a tale that spread around the world.
9 flying saucers, flying discs.
Later that year, the identity of Lear's friend was made public. Bob Lazar's claims put Area 51 on the map. In his later years, Lear's health declined. He could no longer fly, but continued to share stories about increasingly outrageous conspiracies. The crazy stories don't obscure what was an amazing life. To the end, Lear figured he'd be vindicated.
Believe me when I tell you, you may not find out in a month, a year, 5 years or 10 years, but you'll look back at what I'm telling you now and you'll say to yourself, my gosh, the son of a gun was right.
George Knapp, 8 News Now.
Wow. What a life. What an interesting person, right?
You know, that three of them, all their stuff that they've been saying are all coming true. Bob Lazar, George Knapp, and John Lear. They've all talked stuff and people said, oh, it's a bunch of hoo-hoo, and you know what? It's all starting to come true now.
Yeah, it is indeed. Well, I bet our guest tonight is going to have a thing or two to say about that too.
Yep. We had a great guest tonight, Alan Steinfeld. And instead of reading Alan's bio, I am going to show a 6-minute video that really sums up, his great body of work. So Amanda, if you can run that video there, and we will bring Alan on right after the video.
Welcome to New Realities. Welcome to New Realities. Welcome to New Realities. Welcome to New Realities. My name is Alan Steinfeld. And on this show, I'd like to investigate the nature of consciousness, who we are on not just a physical level, but maybe a spiritual soul level. And that has to do with how we perceive the world and who we are in our dreams, in our altered states of consciousness.
Well, there are levels of reality I can discuss and levels of reality I can't discuss.
That we could transform into other planes, other dimensions, other realities.
Alternate realities, parallel realities.
Inner realities.
New realities, as your program is named, to create new realities and based on all the things that you've never experienced before.
This is New Realities TV. I'm Alan Steinfeld with Paula Gloria from the Nevada desert at Burning Man 1999. See you next week.
Bye.
And I've been doing this program for the last 15 years, and it's about exploring the expansion of our consciousness.
Consciousness is basically a primary attribute of existence.
And when you can harness the power in consciousness, you will create your new reality.
New Realities is giving voice to the evolution of a spiritual culture that is emerging in this country.
Vatsayana, the Kama Sutra, he says, it's not the road you walk, it's the walking.
And the best communication you can ever have is the communication with the divine, because that's where you get the most support.
So what New Realities does is open that window a little wider so we could peek our heads out and see a greater possibility for who we are as human beings and what's possible for the planet.
Once we begin to expand our repertoire of ourselves, a lot of the old conversation falls away, and that's what's happening to everyone on this planet.
The old dramas,
the old dramas fall away.
Because they're
the
so
fears
boring
fall
anyway.
away.
I mean,
the fears fall away.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid of death. I'm not afraid of going out into the cosmos. I'm not afraid of having a galactic being stand next to me. And I have had those experiences. And so my reality has shifted. And it's shifted in a way that I feel is not something that has happened to me, but that I can use. My higher self says, use life.
I'm constantly on the lookout for people who have new ideas about who they are, about new relationships.
The world would be a much better place to live if we were kinder. And what I say is turn it around. You be kind. You know, if the world is so unkind, where is the teacher of kindness?
Swami Satchidananda said that there are two ways to realize two really good paths. The first is to be a monk, but if you're not going to do that in this lifetime, then the second is to learn about who you really are by having relationships.
Bruce Lipton is a brilliant biologist who gave us a whole new paradigm for evolution. We're not just the environment as a physical. I'm also you because you're part of the environment.
Right. We're all connected as one. The environment is a connection. It is not a separation. Science and religion both fail by reducing us as something separate from the environment.
Right.
Man is created above and beyond everything else. Man is separate from. It's like man is not separate from anything. The moment we believe man is separate is the moment we are actually on the decline of our vitality.
Alex Gray has given us new art and new visionary symbols in which to evolve our culture.
Art, in general, argues for the reality of the inner worlds. It speaks for that. And that's what we need to sort of resurrect in the 21st century, is the value of the inner worlds, that the subjective is what brings meaning and purpose to our lives.
Right now, I'm out there giving a voice to people that would not be heard otherwise, and I really enjoy it, and I'm happy to be doing what I'm doing, and I want as many people to hear the understanding that realities emerge as people shift consciousness, and as you shift what you believe into what Lewis Carroll says in Alice in Wonderland, that I like to believe 6 impossible things before breakfast. Start to believe some impossible things.
Look at the UFO phenomenon as having developed this way. We saw these things flying around. We originally thought they were military, they were American or Russian or something. It took a while before people began to think, Lord, are they extraterrestrial?
Yeah.
Then that got accepted. But nobody wanted to think there was anybody in them. They're just machines or something. Because it's a little too scary to imagine people, beings inside these things.
These gray beings, I'm sure everyone knows who the grays are. You'd have to be in a coma not to know who the grays are at this point. With the big eyes. I was in this room and there were 4 little girls that ran over to me calling me mommy.
Nevada, they called 395 the extraterrestrial highway, and this county in Washington, they've said it's illegal to harass or trap Sasquatch. So you've got governments.
So, by planting new ideas into people's minds, I hope that new realities will emerge. So, thank you.
Hey Jack, it's me. I don't mean to bother you, but something's been
Very cool.
Welcome to the show, Alan Steinfeld. What an impressive body of work. Oh my gosh. Holy moly, the people you've got to meet.
Right. And that was 10 years ago.
I'm so happy you could be here with us.
I put together that reel about 10 years ago. So I've met a lot more people since then. And my focus has now been much more where we met on the UFO circuit. And that's what's really exciting. I think the most cutting edge, that woman talked about spirituality. Well, ETs and that awakening of consciousness, Chris, is totally spiritual. Are you ready for that?
Yeah. Am I ready?
Yeah, you.
I don't think I have a spirit bone in my body, but my wife, she's all for it because she knows everything about me.
Well, one more thing I want to comment on some of the things you go ahead. What were we going to ask?
Go ahead. No, you go, please.
No, I just want to comment that, yeah, without John Lear, there'd be no awareness of Area 51 at all. There'd be no presidents talking about it. We would not know because he discovered Bob Lazar, who did not want to come out and talk about it all. And John Lear was much more far out than that. I mean, I met him once, and he was showing me pictures about bases on the moon, the dark side of the moon. He says, look, they're right there. And there was something there. It was a little out there, but he was definitely tuned into something big and
Katie
beyond our level. Yeah.
Before Katie asks your question, because they're chomping at the bits to get to you. I gotta just say one thing about John Lear. You know, when you join the CIA as a pilot or something in that type of thing, you have to get a top secret clearance. They don't come easy. You're taking polygraphs and psychological exams and everything under the sun. I know I had a top secret clearance, and they knew who I dated in high school. They told me. They said, "Hey, how was your date with Cindy? You know, did you get lucky?" And I'm sitting there going, "Why? Yeah, you crazy? What's, you know?" So, you know, if you're going to become a CIA pilot or join that thing, you know they're gonna go up and down you and stuff. So he's not as crazy as people think that they thought he was.
Right. He sang crazy at the time. No one wanted to believe Area 51 even existed. It was totally denied. I think Obama was given permission was the first official person to actually say Area 51 on the air, say, yes, there is a secret base there. So he was a prophet, a little crazy. I met him. He was a little out of control, but he was interesting. So that's what I have to say.
Well, this whole field can make you feel a little crazy sometimes, but a lot less. He seems a lot less crazy now than he probably did to people back in the day. Chris, does your wife watch this program? Well, never mind.
Oh no! Are you kidding?
Well, did you get lucky with Cindy, Chris?
No, actually, I didn't. I struck out. I mean, just let me say that on national television at my high school prom, I struck out. How's that one, Alan?
I think your wife will be happy.
Yeah, she might be happy with that. So, Alan, there is so much to cover with you tonight. I know we're going to go from, nuts and bolts to consciousness to all the way back around. Watching that video, New Realities, that beautiful blonde woman talking about, I'm guessing referring to potentially a hybrid program where she was on a ship and these beings came up and said, "Mommy." So that absolutely gives me the chills. Can we just start there? Because I think that's so fascinating.
Yeah, let's jump into the deep end because, that's, it's great if there's things in the sky and they may or may not be here. But when you start to play with genetics and borrowing our DNA to create a hybrid race, that's where it gets really weird, right? So I do think if you talk to enough contactees, there seems to be a pattern that goes on. It's that people are remembering, and I do in my abduction experience. If you read my book, Making Contact, I actually talk about the experience where this little hybrid, half human, half animal looking being was placed in my hands. And I said, this is weird. What do I do with it? But it seems to be part, and I know it's really out there, part of the contact experience for a lot of people because, and you're talking about digestion, ET digestion and toilet paper in the beginning, they have developed their brain. They don't even have a digestive system. They really don't have sexual organs. They have lost their ability to reproduce. So they need our DNA, I feel, to create a hybrid race. And that's really out there to get them where they're really going. Because when you become pure intellect, you hit a dead end.
Okay.
Everything.
I could not agree with you more. This is totally striking a chord with me. I want to know though, you said you had a being placed in your hands. I hear usually women say this, that they feel like they've had a fetus taken and then they've been asked to hold it. Okay. So do you mind just describing that a little bit more while we're on this?
Yeah, they're taking eggs and sperm. Maybe that's all I'll say about how well they're taking. But yes, they're taking eggs and sperm because they're breeding. I mean, this sounds so crazy, but I have to say I experienced it. So they are breeding a sort of hybrid race, men and women, different genes from different people. They're not just taking my genetics, but my feeling is they're splicing lots of different attributes of different people into these hybrid races because they're taking the best of who we are. I'm not sure what the best part of me was, but they're taking that and they're taking other people's and they're creating these little beings that are maybe half or less than half human. And also have their great intelligence. So, but the thing that humans have that a lot of other creatures don't have is our ability to feel, our emotional body. And that's what's so valuable here. Not the dramas, but our capacity for compassion and love and empathy. This is what makes us human, and this is what I think we're valued for.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%.
Okay, good.
It's really interesting. That kind of came out that they were streamlined, well-oiled machines, and they were looking for humans were creative, we're artists, we're musicians, we have such a wide range of emotions. But you mentioned, Alan, the digestive system. And one of these presentations I went to, somebody had mentioned that the beings in S4, that we had a ET being in S4, and that they actually absorb the nutrients through their skin, and that maybe part of the cattle mutilations and some of that were like chopped up and they'd rub it and they would absorb. Have you ever heard that, Alan?
I have heard that. And that is why ET smells so bad. Because imagine dried blood on your skin all day. It's not pretty. It's not a good deodorant. But that is because they have atrophy of the digestive system. So they do take nutrients in. We could take it in through our skin. It's just not as effective as actually swallowing it. But we do get, if you put like even garlic oil on your skin, you'll taste it in your mouth because our skin does digest. That's why you don't want to be around toxins, because we take all that in. But yes, I have heard that. And it's been, I wouldn't say proven, but it's been verified by people who have met ETs and have seen that nutrient intake. So yeah, there's a lot to unpacking the ET.
I've never heard they were smelly before. So that's...
They do. They smell like dried seaweed.
I'm sorry I'm lagging a little bit up here. I said I've never heard that. They're smelly.
and there is a common smell to ET visitation. Some people say it smells like seaweed or that kind of a rich smell of that ocean where everything's just rotting underneath, and so, or even gasoline. If you look at the literature of contactees, there is a strange smell. Even Whitley Strieber's book, Communion, he talks about smelling them, and it's a little odd. So they're not pretty. They're not, Chris, you don't want to go on a date with them. I don't care what your wife says. But.
No, I don't, but I think of a great Christmas gift as some body wash. I would think that they would like that. What's that manly odor, kind of Old Spice? If I get abducted, I'm going to bring some Old Spice with me. Say, damn,
that's
guys.
a good idea. They'll love you for that. You know?
And listen, I got a question for you. You had mentioned before that you're an explorer of the consciousness. Can you explain to the listeners what do you mean by that?
Wait, what's the question again about consciousness?
You're an explorer of the consciousness. And that's a pretty interesting title. You know, as an explorer of the consciousness.
Thank you. So what is consciousness? I say it's how we perceive the world. No one really has a definition of consciousness. There's so many, because consciousness has now actually replaced the word God. Like, we're all consciousness. We're all part of consciousness. I don't know. I use it to mean an awareness of perception. And it's also a link to other consciousness. Maybe we'll share a consciousness. So I'm an explorer, let's say, of perception, how we see the world. What is the worldview? And your worldview is based on your level of consciousness. You go to someone living on an island their whole life, they'll just see a very small view. Someone living in a city, or Eskimos have 9 or 19 words for snow. So consciousness is very flexible and malleable, and it's based on your conditioning and your programming. And we've been shut down in a matrix in a very limited way. William Blake said we only see the world through this narrow chink in the wall, and there's this whole other reality. So consciousness is expansive as a perception of reality, and that's my exploration. Who is seeing more than I am? That's the exploration. Who sees the world in a different way? I want to know what they know. I want to see the world that way. And that's why I call the show New Realities, because as we expand our consciousness, we actually expand the reality that we're living in, the potential for the realities that we're living in. So I'm an explorer of all that is and all that could be and all that ever was. So Does that sum it up for you a little bit?
Yeah, it sums it up great. I mean, the consciousness is the new word. You know what I mean?
It's the new buzzword for like
Right.
everything. It's even in the UFO field. You know who John Mack is, Katie, right? John Mack, the professor at Harvard. Do you know?
Right.
And he started to talk to people having abductions, and he realized, well, these people aren't crazy. And as a matter of fact, we're so shut down in our worldview, we're not even seeing that there could be other beings here. So my favorite quote from John Mack is that UFOs and ETs are like an outreach program from the cosmos for the consciously impaired. And that's us, the consciously impaired, because we've been limited, shut down, brainwashed. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good way to put it.
When we get back from break, we need to take a break here in just a few minutes, but I really want to explore and I want to talk to you, Alan, about how we interact with our own consciousness and can we create our own realities and can we connect and contact ETs and how does that work? And I have so many questions. I want to get also into some of these amazing guests. I mean, Alex Gray, come on, his art. I learned about Alex Gray through his artwork with Tool because I'm a big Tool fan. So we have so much coming up right after the break. Yeah, I can't wait to hear more about him. All of you out there, please check out Alan's book too.
Oh, right.
Yeah, if we could put up Alan's book here. I know I'm lagging here a little bit. Making Contact. Yes, yes. So everybody get a copy of Alan's book and we're going to talk more.
Great.
Right. Okay. We will be back with Alan after the break.
I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
Families don't have to talk about everything, but they should talk about how to plan for an emergency. Get tips and resources to make your family's emergency plan.
Hey members, the new KGRA-DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA-DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA-DB.
Welcome to the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. Here you'll find great new content, including the KGRA Classics, great shows from our archives. You'll be able to see the show times and information so you can see what show is currently on air. The on-air live button, so just go to this section and you'll be able to hear the show live with exceptional sound quality. We also have the Vault section. Make sure to subscribe to get access to great content and special features. We have the make content for our latest news and events, so make sure to sign up and you can be part of our forum. So make sure to check out the new KGRA digital broadcasting website, thekgradb.com. We look forward to seeing you there, and we hope that you enjoy the new website.
Oh, yeah.
I can't really hear it. It's lagging, but I can hear it in my mind. And we're back. We're back with Alan Steinfeld.
I love you, Katie,
All right.
girls.
So let's just jump right.
Go ahead.
Katie girls, I like that. I like that. Let's jump into this. I mean, I think anybody who connected ET and UFOs or nuts and bolts UFOs and consciousness was way ahead of the game. So let's talk a little bit about that. How did you kind of make that connection? When did you make that connection? And can you talk just a little bit about that? Because I find that really interesting. Because I think
that is a really good question. And I think that question is at the core of the phenomena. So, yes, we've seen things in the sky and people have had experiences. But when I had my experience, and that's mentioned in my book, chapter 7, but I want to also say this book is a compilation of the best people in the field. When I was asked to write a compilation, I sought out people who are doing the longest experience and the hardest work. And it goes from nuts and bolts to consciousness, that book. But when I had my experience, I was in an altered state. It's like my feeling is when these beings show up in your reality shifts. And what is shifting? Your consciousness, because this is my theory, and maybe other people might agree. They vibrate at a different, let's call it frequency, but they're in the world, but not of the world. So they come in and out of our reality, but their energetic field, if you want to call it that woman on the show that you talked about spirituality and mysticism, was talking about how everything is energy. And everything is energy. We are energy. That's what's giving life force to this body. It's energy. But our energy is set to like it's like a radio. We're set to a particular frequency so we can exchange communication and physicality with each other as 3D people. But if you just turn the dial a little bit to the left or right, you get a whole different frequency with a whole different channel. So what's happening with aliens, I think, is they're bleeding through into our frequency, but they don't really stay here that long. And when they come into our frequency, they actually distort it a little bit. And what's being distorted when we talk about reality being distorted? The world stays the same, but our perceptions of the world shift. It's like being drunk. You know, Chris, it's like,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
Taking a little toke and suddenly your world is like, it's a little different than it was before. And what's changing is your consciousness. And so when the ETs come into your field, it's a much different high. It's a much different field of energy that you are interfacing with. And again, it's a shift of consciousness. So that's sort of how, and not that many people talk about that vibrational frequency shift that ETs are, but really they are different than us. And that's one of the reasons I think, and we can get into this, Katie, is why the government's not talking about it, because we think everything is 3D. We think everything is physical, but the world is not. If you look at quantum physics, and I go into quantum physics in this book, the world is actually not solid. The world is vibrating at a physical frequency that it lets it to be hard, hard. But you just shift the vibratory rate and you can put your hand through a wall or disappear. I know that sounds out there, but
have you ever seen it done?
Yeah, go ahead, Chris.
Have you ever seen it done?
Have I ever seen which done?
Somebody putting their hand through a wall. I mean, I've seen people put their hand through the wall, but they broke the sheetrock.
I did see like a Qigong master put this like stick through paper. I mean, he just shifted the vibration of this stick and it just went through this paper without breaking it. So, I mean, I'm sure science can do that. You have a question, Katie? You look like you've had a question.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Well, I was going to say, speaking of people disappearing, Katie had to pop out for a minute. She's going to come back.
That's a demonstration of what I'm talking about. She was just not at our frequency anymore.
Where she is, it keeps lagging and freezing, so she'll pop back on in just a minute, but we'll keep going. I'd love to actually continue in this vein right here. I've had a couple OB experiences where right before it happened, the only way I can describe it is things that were solid started to look watery. Kind of like you'd see a mirage or something, like on a hot road and everything kind of goes shimmery. And I would get that weird feeling. And I think that is kind of like the vibration and energy starting to shift. And a lot of people talk about, and I've heard it said Pleiadians or Pleiadians, I think there's a couple different ways to pronounce it, but that they can have a very different energy, obviously, to the Greys. And we actually had a question from chat. American Warrior wanted to know what you know about that species.
The Pleiadian species?
Yes.
Well, people give names to a lot of these different beings, and it's great to name things, but the level we're at, I don't know if we can say that's a Pleiadian, that's an Arcturian, that's a Sirian. We're giving names. We're even calling something a UFO. We're identifying that as unidentified flying object. We're identifying as unidentified. So we can give names to people, and Pleiadians are supposedly a higher level. The beings I met, they didn't tell me where they were from. And it was in this altered state again. Like you said, Katie, when you're about to do an out-of-body experience, yes, your consciousness does shift because you're becoming more energy than matter. And that's really the true nature of consciousness, let's say, is energy. So energetic fields of these beings have different registers or calibrations, let's say. So there are levels of Pleiadians. There's physical, there's there's quasi-physical. So the world and the universe, really, I'll say, is much more complex than this little 3D matter world that we think is the only reality. So we have to mature into being explorers of consciousness, into expanding the possibilities if we're really going to play on an even playing field with these other beings. We have to become much more lucid in these other states of awareness.
Yeah, I agree.
Ellen,
yes.
I want to ask you a two-part question, if I could, because you brought up some very interesting things, and my mind is now, the cobwebs are coming out. And
maybe your consciousness is expanding, actually, Chris.
No, I'm just coming all down from the alcohol I've been drinking with Jerry.
Okay.
So the thing is this: we talk about aliens, and what you talk about is maybe almost dimensional. So now I'm going to ask you. Could there be also, we all say, oh, they're interdimensional beings and they're aliens. Suppose they're both. Suppose there's actually aliens just like us that are on other planets. And suppose there's interdimensional beings, because you're saying, hey, the aliens, they don't have different names. They don't, they're all kind of the same. And then we have these interdimensional things that some people say are like giant lizards and, 6 feet tall, good looking women, which I hope to meet one of these days. And, they have all these different things. So do we have interdimensionals and do we have aliens?
We absolutely do. That is a really great question, Chris. I'm glad you're listening and thinking about this because, like I said, this is not.
Well, if I wasn't, these two girls would kick my ass. So I gotta.
This is a very simplistic version of reality, thinking everything is 3D. There are aliens. There are interdimensional. This is what paranormal is. The paranormal that Katie studied and investigated. That's just a different frequency. That's just interdimensionality coming in and out of this 3D matter world. But this is not all there is. There's an infinite amount of, let's call it, consciousness or intelligences out there that's interfacing, coming in angels, I would say demons or whatever. But, there's the good and the bad, but we want to stick to the light. But there are levels of higher consciousness, lower consciousness, higher dimensions, lower interdimension. It is much more complex. We need a new cosmology if we're really going to understand what the universe is made of.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And let's talk about paranormal experiences right now, because so many people have had encounters. It just opens up a world of paranormal experiences, and I throw ufology into that. If it's out of the ordinary, there's so much more to this reality than we're told. And Anne Strieber, Whitley's wife, used to say she would receive so many letters. She read all of those letters that came to Whitley, and we've talked about this before on the program. She would read letters from people that would say, I saw grays, but they were with my dead loved one, or, so there's something going on here. Like you said, we can't just put it all in these little boxes. That's so human of us to want to do that. I feel like the more I learn about this topic, the more questions I have. I mean, it's just the more you know, the more you're like, oh my gosh. And when people say to me, well, what's going on with the aliens? Where are they from? And what do they want? I'm just like, how much time do you have? And I'll go ahead and tell you now, we're going to get to the end of the conversation. I'm still going to say we don't know. And I hope you're okay with that. But can we talk about that whole paranormal connection? Because it's huge.
It is. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what physical matter is. We've been conditioned. Scientists say, well, look at them in biology. They don't know what the DNA is. They call it junk DNA. How ignorant is that? So there's a mystery going on here, and we want to, the ones in charge want to keep us in a matrix. I'm not a conspiracy person, but there's definitely a narrow-mindedness that anything that doesn't make sense we call an anomaly, and anomalies can just be ignored and shoved under the carpet, but you can only shove stuff so far under the carpet until the carpet is a little distorted. And that's what's happening with the government. What's happening in disclosure, they don't know how to explain this phenomena, so they don't tell us. They don't tell us what's going on, because you have to include these other dimensions, and these beings can pop in and out of our world. And so maybe what's paranormal is just a very limited view of what's normal. Like the ranch that Katie lived near when she was growing up in Colorado. These are doorways through dimensions, and we should not be freaked out by the paranormal. This is an extension of consciousness, Chris. That's it. It's an extension of who we are. So in a sense, there's no paranormal. It's just normal we have yet to integrate into our lives. So we need to be explorers of consciousness. Going back to your original question, if we're going to include all the phenomena, that's possible. This can't be strange anymore. It has to be accepted as fact, as reality, if we're really going to grow up as a human race to meet the others on an even playing field. Let's mature. Let's stop making war, like you said, and let's make friends, and let's understand who we are, so we can really take our place among a cosmos that's waiting for us to say, well, come on, get it together. Stanton Friedman used to say, tribal warfare was our favorite pastime as these thinking apes, but we have to go beyond that, because there's incredible things waiting for us once we grow up as a species.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You brought up a good point, Alan. You kind of brought up the ranch in Colorado and the military and the Air Force. Now, all these high strangeness activities for me was in the late 70s. And this was even after or on the tail end of some of these black projects, MK Ultra, mind control. Do you think the Air Force, Navy's kind of come out and talked about it. Air Force is being hush hush and not really saying much. Do you think they're aware of this consciousness piece? Do you think they're interested in contactees and abductees? And can you speak on that a little bit?
I can speak of that because I read the book. I don't have it here, called Skinwalkers at the Pentagon. And like the ranch you grew up, the Skinwalker Ranch was full of anomalous paranormal activity. And the people who wrote that book, the government people, Callagher, and George Knapp was part of that as well. But there was another government guy, Callagher, and I have the book here. But anyway, they went to that ranch particularly to investigate UFOs as it interfaces with the paranormal. And they did discover there is that doorway into these other realities, these other portals of conscious, of physical space that go in and out of this realm, like that picture of the thing in the sky that you showed from that guy, that case study. Yeah, that right there. I think Chris was right. That is a portal in space, and there are portals that show up. And that's just what we're seeing is the after effects of a craft going through the portal and leaving some of its exhaust or whatever it is behind. So we're not actually seeing the portal. We're seeing the outline of the portal there. But those things, and I talked to Hal Puthoff, who was involved in the government. He said, when you have enough energy, and if you have unlimited free energy, you can move the space-time out of the way to go and calculate where you want to show up at the other end of space-time. You can create a wormhole through this vortex of time-space and go, if you have enough sophisticated consciousness, to go wherever you want by creating your own portals. Black holes, dark holes, there are many black holes in space-time. And you go in. This is how I understand it. And there's a paper by Eric Davis. Actually, it's online talking about time-space wormholes. So this is something we are already we're suspecting that this is true, but we don't The problem is science is stuck in an old paradigm and they're always like a century behind, but we need disclosure. We need the government to come forward and get the best scientists in the field, lay it all out on the table and say, look, world, this is what we got. Let's put our whole mind together on all different levels and see if we can figure out this technology. And maybe they have in some ways, but give it to the world. Because when we get free energy, we don't need to be suffering and being enslaved to a system and, paying $6 or $8 for gasoline. These craft are not filling up their gas tank to get here. It's a whole new ball game.
Can you imagine what it would have cost if they did?
Well, that's why it's suppressed. Yes, that's why it's kept under lock and key, the secrets.
Yeah, it is. And it's just terrible the way things are nowadays.
Yep.
All right, listen, I got 1,000 questions for you, Alan, because this is very fascinating. But I'm going to throw a little bit of a curveball here. Okay. I saw this video, I think, that you were giving. And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't understand it. I tried to understand it. It was you explaining the theory of cubes and how the cube is a sort of a communication.
The cube? The quantum. Cube. I think you're talking about the quantum field.
The quantum, right? But you described it as a cube within a cube.
Oh, that was about a crop circle I saw.
Right. And I was going to say that, and that kind of goes into the crop circle. Could you explain that communication?
That crop circle and that communication was a cube within a cube. And I think it's talking about hyperdimensionality. Crop circles, the real ones, are keys to a new technology. So hypercubes are cubes that exist in a fourth and fifth dimensional space. That means when you rotate them, you need special technology. But there's examples of hypercubes, and they don't exist in this 3D world. But yet, if you look at M.C. Escher's work, the artist, he's talking about hyperdimensional space, really. And actually, there's a great little drawing he did of a praying mantis standing over somebody when they're sleeping. So he was connected to something. So what I meant by the cube within the cube is a doorway into hyperspace, how we bend time space. I can't say I totally understand it. I just said that was a key to understanding how to deconstruct this reality to open up doors to other time space dimensions. That's as far as I've gotten with it.
I love it.
Not farther than I have.
My parents had a huge Escher coffee table book when I was a kid, and I would just get lost in those pictures. And I used to joke that it kind of warped my brain, but I actually think it really helped me understand all of this more. I'm so glad.
I think he was an abductee. I think he had a download. This is my theory. I haven't heard anyone say that, but yes.
I would agree with that. Let's talk really quickly how we deal with children. I think part of the reason we don't have more ability, I think we're born with natural ability that gets talked out of us. Let me just say it that way. I remember, and my parents are awesome and super supportive and groovy and into big ideas, but I remember telling them I could fly. And I remember them telling me, no, you had a dream. And I remember saying it was not a dream. And I insisted on it. And basically every single adult told me that I just had a great imagination. Like, you're cute, kid. That was a cool dream. And so I naturally was like, well, I must be crazy. It's not really happening. I think we do need to tell kids when they're frightened, like sometimes you do as a parent just want to go, oh, it's just a bad dream. But I think maybe we can do a better job and say things like, well, let's figure out a way for you to have power over that thing that's scaring you. And, let's talk about it in a way where we're not just saying it's all in their heads.
Well, there's a whole new breed of children coming forward, and they're called star seeds. Actually, in chapter 10 of this book by Mary Rodwell. So each chapter is done by a different expert in the field. And they go from, like I said, the nuts and bolts with Nick Pope, who worked for government cover-ups and Hardwired, to the consciousness level. And Mary Rodwell writes about the star seeds, these children who are born with memories that are not shut down saying, oh, it's just your imagination, but are listened to by adults that say, maybe this child is actually talking about some knowledge that we can learn. So in the opening book, there's a little comment by one of the children, Mary Rodwell, who's really the expert in the world on star seeds. These children that come in, they're just beginning to talk, and they do remember their time and the stars, and are they making it up? Maybe, but they come in with such knowledge. So one of them says, making contact with the non-human race occurred before I was born. These beings are my family before I came to Earth, and I had a close relationship with them, which now continues on. There's another woman in this book, Carolyn Corey, who talks about these beings appearing to her and giving her some advanced technology. Now she's a filmmaker making films about children who could see through their blindfolds. The film is called Superhuman. She just did another film called A Tear in the Sky about tapping into other doorways. So children, and we should listen to them. They are our teachers. And if we encourage them to be artists, to communicate, they will help us achieve a new level of understanding because they have come in with new knowledge. You know, you ever give like a 2-year-old a cell phone, they know how to operate it. I mean, not that you should give them a cell phone, but immediately they're somehow already tuned to the technology. They already know how to deal with it. And it's like, how does that happen? So I'm sorry you were shut down, Katie, because you're one of the starseeds that came in with knowledge, and we all have to retrace those steps. I mean, I was shut down a little bit, but I always knew I belonged to the stars. And really, I have to tell you, you three there and everyone listening, we are the aliens here. Maybe our bodies evolved through primate evolution from apes, but our consciousness is from somewhere else. Do you get that, Chris? Did I lose you? Our consciousness.
No. I'm still with you, buddy. I may be on chapter 1, but I've read chapter 1.
Okay, good. I think our consciousness is alien. I don't know what it's not of the earth. Yeah. What were you going to say? Somebody?
Yeah. One thing I really liked, Alan, in your presentation, I'm sorry if I'm lagging. You guys are like a few seconds behind me. So, but one thing I really liked in your presentation in San Francisco, you gave a lot of examples of perception, like, you know, different like games that people can see different things and shapes. And did you see the gorilla walking by and how humans are? But what's fascinating to me about that, because when you're an investigator and a researcher, there can be a group of people and one person can see the craft or have a contact with an alien and the rest don't. Can you talk a little bit about how we interact with that phenomenon?
Right. I think it has to do with left and right brain awareness. And in my lectures, I talk a lot about left and right brain awareness. The left brain is over educated. By the time we're 5 years old, we're taken away from our little creative activities. We're put in school and taught how to count. 1, 2, 3, we're taught how to read, ABC, and the creative aspect, this right brain intuitive sense of ourselves starts to lessen and starts to almost dissolve. Not quite, because we need that right brain to be like aware of music. Music is a right brain activity. That's why you could listen to the same song over and over again, because it's not linear time. Left brain is very linear, and it's just that narrow link. I forgot who it was who said, your left brain will get you from A to B, but your right brain will get you everywhere else. So we need the creative aspect. And when you're looking at the sky and someone says they see a craft, and the other person says they don't see it, they don't see it because they were trained not to see it. They were trained to ignore. Like I showed the film about this gorilla walking through a room full of people playing basketball. And I tell people to just count the number of passes. And the guy in the gorilla suit walks through the room. I said, did anyone see a gorilla? 90% of the people don't see anything because they've been trained. I told them to look at just the passes, and they're shocked. When I show it again, I say, this is a Harvard perception experiment. I didn't create that, but I took it off the internet. And people are shocked that they didn't see what was so obvious there, because we're trained. Our education is so left brain. We're trained not to see the orbs that are around us, not to see the beings that are probably right there, because we're just looking through the world in a very narrow way. So if the artist, you mentioned Alex Gray, I mean, he's seeing these multiple realities and trying to paint them. Artists, creative beings, you know, people who are intuitive. These are people who opened up a little more of their consciousness. When I teach remote viewing, You can't remote view from the left brain. The right brain is non-local. This is what I teach in my remote viewing classes. It's like, if you didn't know you had an internet on your computer, you would think all the information you got was someone programmed it. Someone else comes along and say, well, I get information that's not on my computer. You would say that's impossible. How do you get information that's not already on your computer or put in by someone? And you say you had the internet. They say they never heard of it. That's what the right brain. The right brain is tapped into non-local consciousness. Really is, because experiments at the Stanford Research Institute for 20 years have proved that consciousness is non-local and local. That's how telepathy works. That's how you can remote view. That's how you can, in a way, astral project, because consciousness is not, it's in the body, but it's not of the body. So it's local. You could use it very locally, your consciousness, to do things. Or you could send a thought to someone, send that thought, and someone say, oh, maybe I should call that person now because I'm just feeling like I should. So we have to recognize that there's this other aspect to us, and that's the playing field that these ETs are interacting with us on. They're not doing it in a linear, logical way. They're blowing our minds open to be much more right-brained and much more intuitive and much more feeling, much more interactive. Feeling a sense of going beyond what we think is possible. So,
Alan, do you think we're ready for that? I mean, because you talk about, and I respect this word, you talk about realms of new perception that are becoming available to us, that our consciousness is supposed to be becoming available to us, and that the old system is collapsing. But I would agree with you until the last month, where we're seeing humankind just destroying each other. It's almost like there's a war going on between the old system that you talk about and the new system that you're talking about, that they're clashing. It's like some people don't want to get rid of it or trying to hold on to it because we're destroying ourselves needlessly.
Exactly. That's why Bruce Lipton says The Matrix was not a narrative film. It was a documentary. We are breaking out of the matrix that has locked us into war and starvation and, competition over one person from another, and all this aspect of very ego-based. The ego is located in the left brain. When you become right brain, the sense of ego self, the sense of history, sense of importance disappears because you're connected to everything. So that's exactly what's happening. These last 2 years, Chris, have been getting rid of what is normal, what is regular, getting up 9 to 5, going to work, going home, watching the baseball game or whatever. That's not happening around the world. We've been just shifted for 2 years on a spiritual retreat. The world's gone on that retreat, and we've been able to reformulate. So that's the beginning of breaking out of the old matrix, out of what is normal, into what you can call is more than normal, a paranormal, a gray. We're changing, and we're being forced to change by seeing how awful war is. Well, that's what happens in all the wars. Someone invades another country, takes over, and then it becomes but we're seeing how awful that is. Does that really have to happen? That's why I always loved John Lennon. Imagine no countries, imagine no religion, imagine all the people living for today. I don't think that's just a dream. I think that is possibility. I think that is really what the ETs are waiting for. Do they really want to come down to a world that's so divided against itself? We're fighting each other. How are we going to welcome another level of consciousness, another type of beings, if we can't even, be friends with our neighbor? I mean, come on. I mean, we are very primitive. But getting back to your original statement, we are ready for it because we are starting to see how ridiculous the old matrix is. We really are. And we're ready for something completely different, as Monty Python used to say.
Well, I can tell you this. If I was an alien and went by this planet and saw what was going on, I'd lock the doors and tell the kids to get down. I mean, it's just crazy here right now.
But they're waiting for us to grow up. And it's up to all of us, everyone listening, everyone watching. We have to send out positive thoughts. We have to forgive the past. We have to let go of resentment and grudges. And this is and each of us, it's like Horton hears a who. It wasn't until that little who started to scream that Horton, the elephant, actually heard the who on the little dust. I love that little cartoon. But anyway, we all have to make a point with our intention. Each one of us is just as powerful as anyone else. And we all have to meditate for peace. We have to meditate for a higher reality. We really do have to grow up here. We really do. And
I agree. And you brought up ego. I just want to say I get such a ego-less vibe from you in the most beautiful way. Your book is a compilation of all these wonderful thinkers and researchers, and you're just wanting the information to get out there, and you give props where props are due. And I think we just need a lot more of that energy in this field. It's so refreshing and wonderful. And I want to talk, you were talking about right and left brain. One thing you've probably, I don't know if you've been, but you've probably heard of the Monroe Institute. I feel like I bring it up all the time, but it really changed my life. And that hemisync technology that Bob Monroe created just changed. It took my meditation to a whole new level, forcing my right and left brain to work together. I really think there's something in that. And you strike me as someone that probably does meditate. So I was just wondering if we could talk about that and how that ties into making contact, understanding contact, and just consciousness.
Well, thank you for that question. That's very intelligent and good. So the idea is that, we are a left brain. We do have an ego, because you really can't exist without an ego. You just kind of stand there and stare into space, which is beautiful and blissful. There's that TED talk with that woman who lost part of her left brain, was just part of everything. So the right brain, or that intuitive sense of self, is the part that's bringing in new ideas, that's meeting the ETs on their playing field. But we need to be whole brain. We need to have a foot in both worlds. So this is the integration. So it's okay to be aware of the ego, but not serve the ego, not say, make it all about you. There's a cartoon I show in my PowerPoint where there's this guy at a bar and he's yelling at the bartender saying, "Hey pal, you have no idea who I think I am." And that's the problem. We're attached to our story, but as soon as we become present, right here, right now, there is no story of you or me or anyone watching. There just is. And in the isness of our being, we start to make contact with something else. That's why I call the book Making Contact, because it's not just making contact with aliens. And in meditation, you're making contact with the deeper part of yourself. When you're out in nature in silence and listening to the world around, you're making contact with nature and the mystery. And when you're at a paranormal spot, it's not to be freaked out. It's to make contact with the bleed throughs in realities that are trying to communicate with us. That's the amazing thing about investigating paranormal, which we said is not normal. So as we tap into, and as we stay grounded in ourselves, that's the power of meditation. When we know who we are, as we kind of fall asleep at night, as we wake up in the morning, not in a sense of ego, but in a sense of being, I think that is what the exchange of connection is with these other beings, being to being. It's not ego to ego, because, to do what these things are doing, they already have a collective awareness. We are moving into that collective awareness, but, we are still trying to sort that out for ourselves. Does that make sense, Katie?
Yes, absolutely.
I just want to say, in my book, I quote this interview I did with Bruce Lipton. Yeah, go ahead. What were you saying? Who was saying? Go ahead, Katie.
You finish, and then I'll have a question after that.
Well, I was just quoting Bruce Lipton.
Well, I was just saying, making contact.
Mm-hmm. Yes, go ahead.
It's the lag.
I know. Stop lagging.
I was going to say, making contact. I know. I'm sorry. I really apologize.
No, go ahead.
There's so many beings out there, whether they're interdimensional or, from the Pleiades or from Orion or whatever. Do we have to be careful who we make contact with? I mean, are there good guys, bad guys? Is there a war? Is there certain ETs that have our best interest at heart and certain ones that don't, that want us to keep our humanity, stop AI? I mean, what's going on out there? And you've talked to so many brilliant people. And what is your thought on that?
Well, yeah, I would say for me, it's sort of obvious in a sense that there It's no different than people on planet Earth. There are good people and not so good people. And Katie, the people you're drawn to are the people that resonate with your field. So you're not going to bring in sort of lower level people because that's not who you are. I don't know the other two people as well, although I did meet Chris. But, you know, we're all vibrating.
Are you trying to say I'm some kind of scoundrel?
No. You're a great vibration
Okay.
too. I just don't know your vibration as well as I know Katie's. I don't know who.
I got a good vibration,
I
man.
know you're a great guy.
I'm a Beach Boys fan.
You were really friendly when we met, and Katie Cook looks lovely too. But there are beings out there that are it comes down to what the raw material says: the service to self and service to others. Most people on this planet are pretty good people. You stop at a street corner, you say you're lost, you get 9 out of 10 or 99% of the people will come over and give you directions because we have a need to contribute to others. That is a basic human need, to contribute to others. And when you ask someone for directions, you are meeting their need to contribute. So most of what's out there is as above, so below. So most of the beings are pretty good. Occasionally, you don't, but you're not going to attract that because it's resonant with your vibration. It's like guitar strings. You pluck a guitar string one way, and the guitar string on the other side of the room resonates. So it's resonance. When we are at a certain resonance, we draw that similar resonance, whether it's people or ETs or interdimensionals. Does that sort of make sense to me? Does it make sense to you?
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense to me.
That's
Chris,
brilliant. Yeah, no, that's brilliant because when you're in.
Yeah, go ahead, Katie.
I think that's brilliant because when you are in this depressive state, when you're in a low state, when you're abusing drugs and you're abusing alcohol and you're abusing others, it seems like more negative things are drawn to you. And it's like you have to fight like hell to break through that and to start raising that resonance and start bringing in all the good things. So I just think that's brilliant that you put it that way.
Exactly.
Wow.
You're getting a little
What is
note
that,
from
Katie?
me.
Jerry, quit abusing the alcohol, Jerry.
Oh,
Jerry. Yeah, Jerry.
That's my man, Jerry. Anyways,
I don't know who
I have a
Jerry is.
question. What's
that? Go ahead, Chris. No, it's about keeping your vibration high. Yeah, Chris, I'm ready.
My vibration is high. Look, I got Jenna and Jerry. Hey, keep it high.
I think you're associating with these two lovely women. You must be at a high vibration.
Yeah, it's pretty cool and stuff. It's all cool. Here's what I think is not cool though, Alan, and I'm a little scared about this. I did some research on remote viewing, and I know Hal Puthoff was ahead of the super secret remote viewing, and I have gotten information that they were highly successful with it.
Absolutely.
Very successful. Yes.
You're absolutely right.
And so we know it's real. We know that they even put people down in submarines to be able to test them, and they were very successful. Here's my question to you, because you're a remote viewer and you're probably very good at it. Do you think people are ready for something like that? Because it's an interpretation. You see something and it's an interpretation. And suppose they get the wrong idea. Suppose they get something that they don't understand or they misinterpret and they go out and do something that's, bad.
Well, usually they have they usually have a team of remote viewers, but I say we are ready for it. We're actually remote viewing all the time. Like you get a phone call and you just hear it ring and you can know sometimes, this person is calling me, or you're talking about someone they call, or you're seeing someone you haven't seen, just by the thought passed your mind about them a few days earlier. So we're always remote viewing. What the remote viewers did at Stanford Research Institute was train their mind to act non-locally. We are ready for it. I teach people to do it all the time. It's happening. We're intuitive beings. So you're saying, are we ready for what we really are? I think that's sort of my...
I think what I'm trying to say, Alan, is that if you get a student who's successful at it and remote views something, could they possibly misinterpret what they're seeing and it could end up in a tragedy? I mean,
no, I
you as a professional would be able to handle it.
No. Something you need more than what if you're going to act on a remote viewing. I would say you need other remote viewers. This is why remote viewers act as a team. This is what Lynn Buchanan, who's still teaching controlled remote viewing. I would say if you get something, don't necessarily act on it, but confer with other remote viewers saying, did you get what I got? So to avoid what I think you're getting at is like tune into the collective. Don't just go out and say, oh, my remote viewing is right and I'm going to do this. No, we have to trust like the collective aspect, the connection to other people. And that's the best way to be safe as a remote viewer. Check in. Don't overstep your bounds. Trust the intuition, but, reflect on it with other people. Ask other people about it. This is human consciousness is not singular. We are interrelated. I was going to read before this final quote from the epilogue of the book from an interview I did with Bruce Lipton, who is, I think, probably the most evolutionary scientist I've ever met. And he says, and I'll just kind of let you guys think about this, the next level of our evolution is to recognize that we're all cells in a larger community coming together to share awareness in order to form one living organism that we call humanity. We are not humans until we create humanity. That's interesting, right? This bigger being, that the greater super being that we're part of. This humanity is when we all recognize that we're all part of the same living organism and we work in a coherent fashion. That means I do my thing, you do your thing, and we're all in alignment for a greater part, like your fingers working together. They're all separate, but they all come together. This is what he means. So when humanity is working together, because we know we're all part of the same living organism, then we can complete this level of evolution. The earth as an organism completes its evolution because we are the receptor sites of the earth. The earth and humanity become one organism as a living, pulsing, breathing Gaia. When we come together in unity with a voice of unity that allows us to speak as a single being, as a single species, that will allow us as a species, as a race, as a civilization of humanity to speak to other ones. And that's the next level. So you get that? We come together as one, we meet the other ones, and we create a bigger super organism of oneness. Does that make sense to anybody?
Absolutely.
I had a meditation once where I saw that all these people were so grounded in themselves that they went, enough deep within themselves to just know where they stood, and they were so solid that they didn't realize they were becoming part of a giant wave that was all headed in the right direction. It wasn't about going, what do you think? Because I want to think what you think. And can we all agree to think the same thing? It wasn't about that. It was about people just getting so grounded and solid. And it created this wave that couldn't be stopped. And I've tried to remember that because I haven't always felt like I had this perfect club where I could just agree with everybody else in the room. And as I've gotten older, I've just gotten more to where I just need to go within. But that actually can make me part of this beautiful big whole.
That is a great metaphor. That's it. We are becoming the wave. We really are. That's exactly. Thank you, Katie Cook, for that, because that's what I'm trying to say. We're not particles anymore. We are a wave, and the wave may be consciousness, and we're all there, all of us. We're all part, because in this dialogue, this conversation today, we started to link our minds. We kind of became entangled with each other, and that's the wave that we're putting this out to the world. These radio waves are being put out to the world, and people listening are part of the wave, and thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah, and if I could, I'd love to, one thing I saw in chat.
Everybody do the wave. Come on, 1, 2, 3.
Do the wave.
Wave. Come on, Chris. Do the wave.
Wait a minute. Jerry's doing the wave. Oops.
What did you see in the chat?
In the chat, American Road Warrior said one thing, getting back to ego, one thing about someone without ego in check, they constantly think you're insulting them. And that just made me think about a lot of what's going on in the world right now is when somebody's so easily insulted and makes it all about themselves, they can become so warlike. I'm going to leave that there. But I have, I love that idea. Quick question for you, though, because you've interviewed so many fascinating people. I know you probably can't pick a favorite, but could you touch on one or two that have been the most impactful for you?
Well, like I said, Bruce Lipton, because something that he said that I interviewed him in, when was that? Like 20 years ago. But that idea of humanity really stood out. So Bruce Lipton is one of my favorite. Alex Gray, like Katie mentioned there, is an artist who's painting other realities. And it's not just psychedelic. These are levels of perception. So, that's one of my favorite. Lynn McTaggart, who's talking about the field. She's talking about creating the non-local mind in the field. And she wrote the book, The Field, and also Power of Eight, when 8 people get together and set intention, the intention experiment. So Lynn, and I'm seeing a lot of these cutting edge scientists and metaphysicians that are combining their knowledge into both consciousness and science and creating a new field of science, in a sense, that is about this connective wave consciousness that we're all a part of. Who else? I like Greg Braden. I like JJ and Desiree Hurtak, who are really new cosmologists. They're trying to integrate a spiritual knowledge into physics. I interviewed Bud Hopkins, one of the greats of our field, Katie, right? He wrote a book called Missing Time. And I interviewed John Mack, the professor of psychiatry at Harvard, who went to talk to abductees and said, these people are not crazy. They're having a real phenomena happening to them. I've interviewed lots of different shamans that have opened doorways, people connected to Carlos Castaneda work, who I was really influenced by. Taoist practitioners, Mantak Chia was one. Who else? I have interviewed. I like Deepak. He's always coming out with something new. He's become a good friend.
Where is Deepak on the UFO thing?
Well, you should look at my interview with him. And he interviewed me twice. He interviewed me for 2 hours about the subject. But Deepak and I differ a little bit, because he's saying, yes, it's all consciousness. What's the big deal? ETs are consciousness. And I said, it is all consciousness, but when you say it's just all consciousness, you're taking it out of a historical time, and it becomes outside of the civilization's evolution. So I'm saying it's consciousness, but it's part of our evolution of a civilization, where we're reaching to as expanding beyond the Earth realm, where it's a new part of history. So if you just say it's all consciousness, it sort of dampers the fact that we are meeting other intelligences that are going to teach us new things, new technology, new biology, new medicine. This is what's at the threshold of, on the other side of that door. This is what's waiting for us. This is the threshold we're at now. If we can just acknowledge, put away your weapons, put down your guns, and make friends with the others, because if they were going to invade us or take over, they would have done this already. And maybe they already have and we haven't noticed, but whatever. I think they are waiting for us to grow up. And if we just would love each other a little more, just a little bit, we might be on an even playing field that will welcome these other realities. But we have to step outside the limitations. We are used to looking, and this is why Chris, and their great questions saying, are we ready for it? And I say, if you want to be ready for it, Chris, you are ready for it. You're ready to open your mind up to new realities. If you say you are, then you are, and boom, something unknown. And we have to be ready for the unknown. So yeah.
Yeah, but Alan, let's say I'm ready for it. You're ready for it. Katie's ready for it. How do we, as people, as a collective, become prepared for the extraterrestrial existence? We know it's out there, but we have to, as a collective, be able to do that. And my question also to you, two-part, is what is the greatest challenge for humankind right now?
to make friends with ourselves. I mean, why do we still have war? Why are there people still starving? Why are there? That's self-created. Why are we still destroying the earth? Why are we still making plastic bottles or guns? Or why are we still doing it? Because greed and, the driving force of corruption, whatever you want to call it, is pushing us that don't want we're not going to, like your mother used to say, you're not going to have friends until you clean up your room. Well, we need to clean up our planet because our friends are not going to visit us until we clean up our planet. And that's it. So we need to, climate change is real. I don't care what anyone says. It's obvious. I'm here in the desert and it's not the same weather they had years ago. So things are shifting and we have to realize that's also the greatest, that things are changing. Things are always changing. We have to keep pace. We have to realize we're one world. We have to share energy. We have to break down borders. We have to respect each other. It's a big undertaking, but we're closer than ever, really. It may seem that we've dropped down, but I think ultimately we are closer to meeting each other, making contact with each other. So that's the obstacle ourselves.
I hope you're right, Alan, because I mean, what I see in the world today, it's very difficult to imagine that. I mean, what you're saying is great. And I believe in what you're saying.
Right.
I just hope that we as a people can smarten up because we're acting pretty dumb right now.
Well, this is why we need these radio shows, these shows to talk to people we all have to smarten up. Whatever situation in your life, we all have to get it together and make friends with your neighbors. I know that's a little naive, but we're here as loving people and we have to express the love. So it's not about hoping we're right. We don't have a choice. We're either right or we're really wrong. So
yeah, for sure. I hope when I see the negativity in the world, I want to believe it's a death rattle. That that we are getting very divided between those of us that are no longer just going to wait on our government or wait for anybody else to fix stuff. We're slowly fixing stuff ourselves, and again getting really grounded in ourselves, and that could become a giant wave. And people, when they feel threatened, they lash out. And I just hope to God that the few that are being so loud and ugly and violent right now, that they're on their way out, and they know that somehow in their soul, and that's what's got them so afraid.
It's our fault that they're acting that way because we haven't given them attention. There's something called adverse childhood experiences that they're looking at in high school. So if someone does something wrong, which we might call bad, they ask, what's wrong? What's happening at home? So we can't ignore this thing that people are reacting to. There are no bad people, really. They're just circumstances that have made them behave a certain way. So we have to look at how we're treating people. I just talked to a friend who did a whole prison project, and she said, we throw away people in these prisons, and they've done maybe bad things, but at the core of them, they were reacting against circumstances. So we have to treat people differently. You have to look at the whole circumstance of the world we're created and be more compassionate and not just throw people away, No,
I get that. Although I do think, like you said, if you don't give someone attention early on and fix it, they may get to a point where, for your own sanity, you have to just go, I cut the ties.
They're calling out for attention, right, though? That's what they're asking for.
Well, I agree. I think some people, going back to ego, some people might get to an age where it's pretty hard to save them. But I like your idea, and I do agree with it fully. And I think the earlier we can catch people and go, what's going on, the better. And bring it back to just good parenting, being supportive, being loving, being good friends.
Well, not just parenting, but community minded. Like, this is what the native tribes would do. That book, It Takes a Village to Raise a Child. Well, we're not, the nuclear family is out of date.
Well, no, I agree with you there. So we have, we got like 3.5 minutes left. This has just gone by insanely fast. Let's talk about your book again real quick, because we really want to make sure people can get this.
You can get my book anywhere, Amazon, look up Making Contact, Alan Steinfeld. You get it at Barnes & Noble, usually around the country. It's published by St. Martin's Press. And like I said, it's a collection of, 11 different essays. I'm one of them talking about my experiences, but we get people. Nick Pope is writing about the government cover-ups and why they're covering up. Whitley Strieber contributes a chapter about his communication as part of communion. And then I go deeper in. Linda Moulton Howe, who's one of the best researchers in the field, contributes a chapter. Grant Cameron, the Canadian researcher, talks about if you've seen a UFO, you were meant to see it. You are entangled in the phenomenon. No one sees a UFO by chance. There's a connection in, I would say, consciousness. I have an essay in here by John Mack, who had passed maybe 2 decades ago, but I knew there was a lecture he gave, and it was unpublished as an essay, so I asked his archivist, and there's an original essay never published before by John Mack, which was a real find for me. Daryl Anka, who's a channel for Bashar. And then I go into like that level, the channeling. Daryl Anka writes this chapter as himself, and his 30-year relationship with this extraterrestrial he calls Bashar. And he makes some really solid points, and he goes deeper into consciousness. And Mary Rodwell, I mentioned, who's interviewed all these very young children, talk about their memories of coming from somewhere else. So are all these children just fabricating, or is there a common theme? And there is, about taking care of the earth, about loving each other, about greater technologies. So that's in here. And then I finish it up with Carolyn Corey, who's a filmmaker. Her film was called E.T. Contact and Superhuman, but she talks about her awakening of this ET connection at 5 years old, where she saw these beings come into the room and they started to teach her this higher level of understanding the nature of reality. So you go from hardware to software to the shift of reality, and it's a very easy read. And let me know if you get it. You can email me at newrealities@earthlink.net. Let me know what you think about the book and this program, and tune into my YouTube channel. It's right there, youtube.com/newrealities. I'm interviewing people about this subject all the time. I'm starting a special series coming up in June where I'm interviewing the disclosure people about what they think. And
I love it.
Yes. And I invite you guys too to participate.
That is so wonderful. I can't thank you enough, Alan. This whole talk has been
Thank
so
you
wonderful.
so much.
Thank you, Katie, for inviting me. Great to meet you, Katie Cook. And Chris, always good to share content.
Always good.
Always good. Guys, next week we have Michael Schratt on the show. We want to thank our producer, Bill Skywatcher, our co-producer, Amanda Curran. We could not do it without you. And of course, thank you to our viewers that tune in every week. We love you guys. We will see you next Tuesday. Be nice to each other out there.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, guys.